Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for attending today. I'm happy to see so many parts of the wider logistics sector represented from this complex and interlinked supply chain. I don't need to tell you that logistics is one of the most dynamic sectors of our economy, but it is still worth recalling that as an industry, it accounts for at least 10% of Europe's GDP. It also provides more than 11 million jobs in the European Union. 6 of the top 10 global logistics companies are European. Logistics lies at the heart of Europe's single market. The nature of logistics operations mean that gains made in efficiency have a direct impact on business performance and the competitiveness of European industry. If we look at Europe's transport network as a whole, there is much potential that could be unlocked for driving future competitiveness. Since logistics typically uses a wide range of transport options, planes, ships, trains and trucks, it is interested in improvements that affect the entire transport system. Europe's large logistics providers already manage very well. That's why they are world leaders. But that doesn't mean that we cannot improve things and turn the many transport and service providers into a single interlinked logistics network of Europe. As ever, it's never that simple. For most operators, that kind of environment is still a long way off. We know this because we asked for views from across the logistics industry. This yielded a long list of your concerns, particularly internal market barriers and bottlenecks. Too much administration, too many missing links in the transport network, technical incompatibilities, thousands of different national rules and standards. There are also IT issues, problems with career development, training and recruitment, innovation and environmental standards. This brings me to the main reason for holding today's conference, to push the debate to a wider public, to discuss answers and approaches to these areas. If we do not manage to remove the barriers, European logistics and freight transport companies risk losing out. Today, our transport infrastructure is increasingly congested. More attractive and flexible alternatives are appearing elsewhere. For some time, we have talked about the need for a solid European policy for freight transport and logistics. This began, if you recall, with the Freight Transport Logistics Action Plan in 2007. I believe there is now an urgent need for us to move forward with a longer-term European logistic policy to identify and tackle cross-border and cross-sector problem areas. So what is being done to tackle these problems, and where can we do more? With recent agreements on new regulations for the Trans-European Transport Network and the Connecting Europe's facility, we are changing Europe's approach to transport infrastructure. This is a pivotal moment for European transport because we can now start map out its future concretely. Our first task is to remove all residual barriers between the different forms of transport and the EU's different national systems. It goes hand in hand with completing the TEN-T, improving and expanding the existing system while making sure that its infrastructure is used properly and to its full potential. This is how we can obtain the scale efficiencies of a true single European transport area. It will be underpinned by a network of integrated corridors that allow large volumes of freight to be moved over long distances. They will use advanced intelligent technologies to achieve energy efficiency and reduce environmental impact. When the corridors are built, they will bring enormous benefits to the logistics industry. Better links to ports, air cargo terminals, urban freight hubs and transshipment centers, to name a few. Of course, improving the door-to-door logistics chain requires better use to be made of each transport sector, separately and combined. The corridor concept applies. 9 international rail freight corridors are being developed, which we hope will form the backbone of Europe's long-distance land freight transport system. The Commission has presented ambitious plans to streamline operations and performance in European railways, ports and airports. While each of these plans is sector-specific in its details, there are some common objectives: to reduce congestion, to stay safe, make the best and cleanest use of capacity, and to promote competition in open and fair markets. As always, the watchword throughout is efficiency. Logistics will rely increasingly on all parts and people in the supply chain to work together and use information efficiently. To encourage and support this, the Commission is working to develop e-freight to smooth the information flow. The Commission will soon outline our wider vision for e-freight and propose some concrete steps forward. Our aim is also to build on what is already being achieved in the maritime sector, Safe SeaNet and e-Maritime, with national maritime single windows. The next logical step would be to create a national single window for all reporting requirements regardless of the form of transport. We also already agreed to develop an e-manifest that would reduce customs procedures for maritime cargo to start with. Urban logistics offers opportunities for raising efficiency and reducing transport's carbon footprint. We promote alternative energy sources and propulsion systems through research programs and support projects to deploy more low and zero-emission vehicles in towns and cities. There are many other areas where we can work together to reinforce Europe's status as globally competitive logistics leader. Industry could also agree to self-regulate in applying standards, thereby make itself a global benchmark in logistics excellence. Ladies and gentlemen, what happens next? With so many pieces of the logistics puzzle represented here today, this conference is an excellent opportunity to hammer out specifics of how European logistics should develop in the years ahead. The best ideas should be incorporated into a strategy paper early next year with concrete steps forward for further discussion and consultation. It's now time to talk concretely about what we want to achieve and how to go about doing it. This conference is a starting point for us together to map out the way forward for this vital industry. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Kallas. In all this, in order to create a genuine functioning European transport environment, the European Parliament is a key ally. And who would be better to speak about this and the thinking on logistics in the European Parliament than Brian Simpson, the chairman of the Committee on Transport and Tourism. Please, the floor is yours.